NIP has offered free tax services for over 30 years, and we have filed more than 3,000 tax returns for our clients over that time, enabling them to continue to receive government benefits, timely tax refunds, and avoid costly penalties.
We are very proud of our tax clinic services.
Inform, connect, inspire. The Post Podcast.
Welcome to the Post Podcast, where we aim to inform, connect, and inspire our community members. I'm your host, Shansa Moen. On today's episode, we have a dedicated volunteer for NIP's Income Tax Clinic, who has been helping low-income households for many, many years navigate their tax returns free of charge, and he is here to share their valuable insights with us today. It's my pleasure to welcome Mr. Russell Lindsay. Welcome to the neighborhood.
Thanks, Sam.
So, for the viewers at home, what is a tax clinic?
So a tax clinic is a free tax service for qualifying individuals and families. At Neighborhood Information Post, our tax clinic is staffed by 2 volunteers who are chartered accountants. While we're not tax professionals, we have a vast number of years of experience and encountered lots of different situations from a tax perspective that are suited for low-income clients.
What kind of clients are eligible to access the tax clinic?
So we do tax returns for low-income individuals and families. We also have experience with seniors and students.
Oh, so you have a very broad group of people that you work with. That's really cool. What are the other factors that make a client eligible for our tax clinic?
So individual clients cannot have more than $35,000 of income, and families cannot have more than $40,000 to be eligible. We also do families where there's children, and for each child, $25,000 is added to the eligibility list. We've got some restrictions from the types of tax returns we can do. So we do not do any returns for anyone that has a business. We don't do tax returns for a deceased individual. And we also are limited in terms of what tax returns we can do that have investments. A little bit of interest is okay, but that's about all.
And I mean, that seems fair, to be honest. NIP has offered the tax clinic for over 30 years. How did you get involved with the NIP tax clinic?
So I volunteered in 1996 with the Ontario Institute of Chartered Accountants, and they assigned me to Neighborhood Information Post. So I was really nervous at the beginning. I had not done any of this type of volunteering before, and but I found it as a really enjoyable experience. So the following year, I thought, I know enough people at my work that are chartered accountants who I could probably cajole into volunteering. So I actually adopted the tax clinic at Neighborhood Information Post and staffed it with my friends and fellow associates at work.
What personally made you connected to NIP in that way?
Well, I started to get more involved because I saw the clients that were coming in from the tax clinic, and I got a little connection with one of the board of directors at the time. And after another year of working at the tax clinic, they offered me an opportunity to be on their board. And as time went on, I just became more and more invested in the type of work that the Neighborhood Information Post is doing. And it just resonated well with me. And I'm amazed at how many great things are happening at Neighborhood Information Post for the community.
I could tell, you've been retired for many years now and you're still here helping out. It's very nice of you.
Well, I have a little more time to do it now than that I'm not working. And, I get a lot of gratification from it.
It's very good of you. So how has the tax clinic evolved over the years since you've been with them for so long?
So, as I said, there was a lot of volunteers that I recruited from my business or friends or whatever. And we were doing in-person tax returns at the offices at Neighborhood Information Post. Of course, when COVID happened, all that had to stop. And it was a pretty difficult time for everybody, but we also had a difficult time because we wanted to continue to do the work, but we were in no position to do it. Fortunately, Canada Revenue Agency had improved their tax software to counteract the COVID problem, and we were able to do virtual tax returns. By using the telephone and our computers at home, we could actually manage to file tax returns for those individuals that were eligible. So I did lose a lot of volunteers because many of them were not prepared to do the additional work that was necessary to get them set up to be a virtual tax return volunteer. And I ended up with only one volunteer who was willing to do that. And she continues to volunteer to this day. So she's been with me for more than 20 years now.
It's really good of her. Have you ever tried contacting them now that COVID's kind of done, kind of gone?
I haven't. It's kind of, to be honest, I've tried to recruit some volunteers outside of that group that used to volunteer. I've lost touch with many of them. But I've also not been very successful in recruiting volunteers. I've had attempts at getting the right person, but I take a lot of pride in what we do here, and I want to make sure it's somebody who's very capable and will not disappoint the client in terms of what they're expecting.
I mean, yeah, it's a very big thing that you're working on, and you don't want to ruin people's days or lives with this. This is like a big commitment.
Yeah, no, there's always times when a mistake is made. And it's important to understand that we always take responsibility for that. We correct the mistake by working through with the client and Canada Revenue Agency so that the correct results end up happening. But it just takes some time. However, we want to minimize the amount of mistakes that occur. Like, we really don't want to disappoint clients. We really don't want to have to do extra work. So that's why it's so important for us to have very capable volunteers.
What should low-income clients file their tax returns when they do not have to pay income tax?
So while you don't have to pay the income tax, you have opportunities to gain some tax credits where you're going to be receiving payments over the course of the next year. So if you don't file your tax return, they will not make those payments to you. They will not calculate what credits you're owed. It's also important because some clients are on RGI or subsidized rental. And for those clients, the landlords usually require you to give your notice of assessment to them to see that your income level still meets the requirement for the subsidy. And if you don't do that, you can be pretty shocked to find out that all of a sudden you have to pay market rent.
Oh, wow. That must be not the best surprise to get. How could we help someone who has not filed their taxes return for many years?
Well, I always find this a challenging thing because obviously it's a lot more work to do, up to 10 years of tax returns.
That must be insane.
But I get a big kick out of it as well because I enjoy for the most part, the positive things that occur from that. So positive things are that sometimes they've built up a lot of credits and they didn't realize that they were eligible for those credits. And all of a sudden you've got 10 years worth of credits coming to you. And so they get a big payment. Now, other times that situation is not necessarily that way, but I think it gives them a sense of relief that they finally have filed all their tax returns. They're up to date and their life is sort of back to normal again, and they can use the tax clinic to file regularly in the future.
So, I mean, this is going a little off topic, but how do you, even if you have past few years, you're able to just not do your taxes?
Well, nobody's going to arrest you and put you in jail for not doing your taxes. But what will happen is whatever benefits that the government provides, whether it's, like I said, a subsidy of rent or whether it's tax credits that they pay you, you won't have opportunity to get those. But the reality is lots of people don't file their tax returns. The only time when it might be, they might actually try and chase you to get you to file your tax return is if you owe them some money. Now, they have information about what income you have. So the Canada Revenue Agency will know whether it looks like you owe money or not. So if you owe money, they'll probably come after you.
That's why they come after you. So that's when they come and arrest you. So
No, they don't arrest you, but they definitely send you notices and bother you. And I don't know if they take it further than that, but I know they certainly threaten you and charge you interest and penalties and all sorts of other stuff.
I mean, hey, let's just decide to make sure to take note. What should a client do if they think there's something wrong with their filed tax return?
So they should set up an appointment with us. Now, it may be that they've received our tax filing, because we always send them out a copy of the tax summary, and they may feel that it doesn't reflect what sheet they thought they were going to receive. If that's the case, then they should make an appointment and we can talk about it and sort out whether there's an error or not. If they've filed their tax returns with another organization through another tax clinic and feel that there's something wrong, we're more than happy to go back and look at those tax years where they feel they didn't get the right information into the Canada Revenue Agency. And we'll make the effort to get the corrections done. So whether it's an error that they think we've made and it turns out we have, then we'll definitely take care of that. But we'll also do it for whatever tax clinic they had filed with previously as well. We don't have to contact the other tax clinic. We can just do it directly with the client and Canada Revenue Agency.
Oh, so it's a very smooth process, switching.
It takes time, but it's not necessarily smooth, but it's easy enough to do with time and effort.
Are there any measures in place to ensure confidentiality and security of personal information?
Yeah, this one's a little difficult because not difficult, but this is a little tricky in that we don't. As the way of doing our tax returns virtually, we have to use the telephone. And using the telephone, sometimes phones could be hacked, and therefore our conversation might be not as private as we would prefer. But we certainly alert clients to the fact that that's the case. And if they choose not to want to do it over the phone, we're more than happy to not do it for them. There's also some rules that I have to follow as a Canada Revenue Agency volunteer. They require that whatever information I have on the client from my tax software or from the conversations I have to delete that within 48 hours after completing their tax return. So delete it from my computer and delete it from any other information I have about them. This makes it a little tricky because each year we have clients that come back year after year. And, the same client that I talk to, I recognize their voice, they know my voice, and maybe we've even met in person prior to COVID. Those people get a little frustrated with me because I said, I'm just going to have to ask you all the same questions I asked you last year because I don't have it recorded anywhere. But it takes a little longer, but it's the safety is the scourge that we are forced to do.
I mean, you'd rather be safe than sorry,
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's more time consuming, but hey, that's how you know that we're making sure that your privacy is number one. How can a client arrange an appointment to do their taxes return using NIP's tax clinic?
Okay, so I do the tax returns along with another volunteer, but I don't arrange the appointments. What we do as volunteers is we'll give a neighborhood information post staff member, his name is Ron. We give them our available times, and then he will organize with the potential clients what times work with them. And he'll arrange a calendar for us, usually weekly, and let us know what our appointments are, and give us a name and a name and a telephone number to contact the clients. But for potential clients, please give Ron a call. He's a great help with us.
Information will be below.
Yeah, you can reach him at Neighborhood Information Post 416-924-2543, and he's at extension 233.
What documents should clients have available to use the tax clinic?
So another security feature that we have is that we have to verify the identity of the client. We will not do tax returns for somebody that cannot prove who they are. Now, if you're doing it virtually over the phone, it means that we're not able to evidence like an identification card, a license, or an Ontario identification card. So we have to do it in a different way. And that requires the client to have at least one of their tax slips. So what will happen is once they give me authorization, I will go into the Canada Revenue Agency site, I'll pull up their data, and I'll be able to see their tax slip information. And then I will ask them, please tell me what is in box 18. And if they can tell me what that box is and the amount in that box, then I will know that they've received a tax slip and they must be the right person that I'm dealing with. And then we can go forward from there. But it's just another security feature that we have. I should also comment on the fact that because they're authorizing me to access their Canada Revenue Agency account, that's a private and confidential bit of information. And so we obviously give the client an opportunity to say yes or no to that authorization. If they choose to not authorize us, then we can't do the tax return for them. But that's their choice, and we have no problem with that. But if they do authorize us, then there's a whole series of security measures I have to go through to prove who I am on my computer to be able to access that site. So I have to put in my personal CRA password and name, username. Once I'm there, they then send me a text message to my cell phone with another series of codes that I have to input before I can get access.
And then this way, like if anything goes wrong, anything goes missing, they know who was the last person to touch your file.
That's true. And one other feature to the authorization is that I only have authorization for 24 hours or for that day. At 12 midnight, the CRA will close it off and I cannot go back into that system. I also only have view access, so I cannot change any of their information on the Canada Revenue Agency file. So, the Canada Revenue Agency has set guidelines and rules for us that make it as secure as possible for us to do this. Now, we are starting to do some in-person tax returns. We haven't started yet, but we've got the ability to do it at the office. So if somebody wants to come in, we can then see their identification in person,
easier,
and we don't have to go through all this security.
Oh, that would be great for those who still have kind of a hesitancy.
Yes, yeah, and also some people just want to do it in person. They like the familiarity to know who they're dealing with and to know where to go if there's a problem and all that. So, we haven't been doing it because of we just got comfortable doing these virtual tax returns. But I think both of us would love to see some real people again and get back, especially some of our clients that we've missed, we haven't seen for a while.
Mm-hmm. I understand what you mean. Like those people that, you only really get to talk to them once a year, right?
That's right.
So
that's right.
It's only so much you can build on that. But I'm hoping you're gonna have a great time this year, seeing those same faces again.
It's pretty amazing, actually, that even though I speak to them once a year, some of them I feel close to them, and I think they feel the same way with me. Because you have to trust your volunteer that they're doing the best thing for you. And so because of that trust, it's a special relationship. Anyway, I have lots of fun doing it with them and always come out feeling good about it.
The file that is only open for 24 hours, let's say that they realize they made a little mistake. Are you able to reopen that file if needed?
I can with their authorization. But if there's a mistake made, it's a good question, actually. If there's a mistake made, I would have to contact the client and we would go back through the process to make the adjustment and file it with Canada Revenue Agency, wait for them to come back with their results, and then, fix it from a monetary perspective as well, like repay some amount or have them send a refund.
So I'm thinking, like, you know how you said after 40 hours, you have to delete all the person's information?
Have to start all over again.
So has this ever happened where a client comes, you get them sorted, and then they come back like 3-4 days later saying there's a few mistakes? Then did you have to do that whole process again?
Yes. It's very infrequent, but yes, we've had to do that.
Oh, okay. So is there like any methods you guys do to kind of avoid that from happening?
Well, after you've done the tax returns for a few years, you begin to um, have a little bit of knowledge about questions that should be asked just in case, because clients don't understand all the tax implications of their situation, and it's up to us as knowledgeable people to ask them the questions that might pertain to their situation so that they get the best result that they can. So, occasionally, if it's a senior, I'll ask a question about whether they use the TTC or not, because there is a special seniors tax credit in Ontario for them. Now, a lot of them say, "Oh, I don't keep any of the receipts and all that," and that's fine. But for those that have that, there's a little bit of money that can be received as a tax credit.
Do you recommend that everyone keeps every receipt they use? Is there like specific receipts you should be keeping and some that only matter?
Yeah, and it really turns into whether their situation is, eligible for certain things. So as an example, I mean, medical expenses is one that a lot of people think about and they keep. But for low-income individuals, I'd say 90% of the time, medical expenses are never going to be part of what their tax return is, because there's no benefit for them. It's one of those deductions that is a non-refundable benefit. So if you pay tax, medical expenses, if you have enough of them, might be a deduction from the amount you have to pay. But once you get to not paying any tax, there's no refund you get from it. So it's not useful. But it's a good question. And, again, donations are another thing. Some people make some modest donations and they know that it's a deductible item, but it's also one of those non-refundable deductions. So you're not going to get a refund for it unless you have to pay tax.
Makes sense. What are the biggest challenges in helping people file their tax return?
I think the biggest challenge is just getting started. People understand that they probably have to pull some documents together and have it all ready for the appointed time when I'm going to give them a call, or my other volunteer Ann is going to give them a call. But once they start, I think it's a pretty painless process. I mean, if they have a really complicated situation, it can take a little while. But for the most part, the clients that I've encountered at Neighborhood Information Post, most of them are definitely less than half an hour. And it usually goes over half an hour because we're chatting about something else, or because they have some questions about some things that are not particularly tax related, but are government related. So they may be asking questions about, when do you think I should start my CPP? Since I'm turning 63 this year, or something like that. And I'll try to help them with the best knowledge I have, but it's not a tax-related area. And,
I mean, it's fun conversations you get from it, right?
Well, and I do have some knowledge on it, so I can usually give them options. They have to make their own decision on what they do, but I can tell them what the implications are in some cases.
Well, we're going to wrap up soon. Is there anything else you want to mention about NIP's tax clinic?
Yeah, I guess there's two other things I want to mention. One is particularly about an Ontario situation that exists. So in Ontario, there are two types of actually three types of Trillium credits that people are eligible for. So they're eligible for the Ontario sales tax. Everybody's eligible for that. And that will be calculated without any form or anything. It'll just automatically be done. The other area is there's an Ontario property tax and energy credit. This is a tricky one for people on low income. So for those, I don't want to get too technical, but for those that are living in a building that does not pay property tax, they're not eligible for that benefit. So it's a bit of a disappointment for them, but that's the way it is. However, it's really important that you file your tax return properly. If you're not eligible, you should not be filing to get that benefit. Because if you do, Canada Revenue Agency has been known to do audits of people, and then you have to pay back that money you received. And again, most people have already spent it, so it's kind of hard. Now they're in a tough situation to pay it back. It's really challenging.
What you guys kind of do where you make sure they don't make those mistakes.
We try the best we can. It's really difficult because people living in Toronto community housing, they are super. They have a whole list of what properties are eligible for this deduction and which ones are not, or this credit. Other landlords can be extremely difficult. I have a contact at the city that helps me occasionally. I also contact the landlords to try and get information. And it's a guess on my part whether that particular landlord might be exempt or not. Now, what I do normally is I look at the name of the landlord, and if I think it's a not-for-profit, then I'll pursue it a little further and try and get the information. I now have a whole list of addresses where I know whether they're eligible or not, that I built up over the last 3 years. However, there's always new ones that crop up, and I do the best I can, but I don't always identify the correct situation. Now, it's rare. Like I said, we built up a lot of critical information that helps us do it right the first time.
What areas of Toronto would you say you have a good grasp on? Areas?
Oh, definitely neighborhood information posts catchment area. So sort of Yonge Street to River Street, from Bloor to down to Lakeshore. That's where the bulk of the clients are. But we do them for all across the city.
I mean, if you are in those places specifically, you know that this is the place for you.
I just want to mention a couple other things before we go. I know your time is short. I got to give some recognition to the staff at Canada Revenue Agency. They have provided such great support over the years to the work that I do and Anne does as volunteers. When we encounter a situation that gives us some trouble, whether it's with the software program or whether it's a question about how to treat something for tax purposes, they're there to help. And if they don't know the answer, they get the answer. So I won't mention any names, but there are some people I've worked with over the last few years that have been really super. I also need to give recognition to Anne. Like I said, she's been working at the tax clinic for over 20 years. She enjoys speaking with the clients just as much as I do. And we both are looking forward to maybe doing some in-person interviews. And for those who don't know, while we've over the many years done more than 3,000 tax returns, last year we did 200 tax returns between the two of us. Wow. We've helped many clients over the years. It's always a pleasure to connect with them. And the work is really gratifying for us, and it's not difficult. We know what we're doing for the most part, and it's a fun time. But I have to tell you, after so many years, I've built up an understanding of people that I would never have experienced before in any other situation. I can tell you about one individual that just warmed my heart so much. She was a client from Iran, and she moved to Canada to start a new life, middle-aged woman. She struggled in Canada to get her skills recognized and ended up attending 4 years of college. So while she was at college, I was doing her student tax returns for her. And we ended up getting to know each other quite well. It was always in-person tax returns, so it was before COVID. And with a mix of joy and sadness, She came to me after she had finished her college degree and had been employed for a year. And she came in and she said, I'd like you to do my tax return. I looked at the amount of money she had earned and I said, I'm sorry. You were over the limit for the tax clinic. And I said, but I'm going to do this one last tax return for you because you're making too much money, but I want to get you started off. We've built up a whole pile of tuition credits for her over the years, so we were able to deduct those and save her lots of tax. And of course, I said, but we're going to have to say goodbye. So we filed that final tax return, but I have to tell you, I was so very proud of her to start a new life and to actually put herself back in a good position. It just warmed my heart. I can tell you about so many other clients, but many of them have been immigrated to Canada from other countries, and their heartfelt stories to me, were just unbelievable. The struggles that they went through to get to where they are. I have to tell you, this experience at Neighborhood Information Post as a tax clinic worker, I've lost most of my self-righteous judgment of others in those early years of my tax clinic experience. And it's also motivated me to continue to volunteer at the tax clinic. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
That story really hit me. But yeah, I hope she's doing well and doing good. Like, it's always nice to see stories where someone was in a good position and now is. And it's like those good goodbyes in the sense of, I'm happy that you're able to fly off, kind of like a butterfly.
Absolutely.
It's beautiful, but it's like, oh, this will be the last time.
I miss her. She was a really nice lady.
Hopefully you can see her one more time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in at the Post Podcast. I hope to see you again next time. Thank you once again for joining us.
You're welcome.
All the information will be below. Catch you guys next time in the neighborhood.